So this morning I was looking for something to create, and as I do when I'm looking for something to create, I tend to head over to Pinterest. And I remembered a conversation I was having with my sister, and she plays a game called Neverwinter, and there are guilds, and she wants to create a guild poster, and on said guild poster she wants like unicorns and clerics, and she asked me if I could help, and literally I had this moment of absolute panic because anything horse-like is a bit scary for me, and it's not something I feel confident about drawing. And I could find the kind of images she was thinking of in her head and felt that actually they were images that I would find really, really time consuming to try and create and would require a lot of practice, and I certainly couldn't do them as quickly as she needed them. But the idea of the can't I'm associating with unicorns stuck with me, and I always prefer to put a yet on the end of things like that. So I can't yet, or I don't know how yet. The same as if I'm feeling a kind of emotion that I'm struggling with, I might say I'm feeling angry for now, or right now, or something like that. And so this idea of can't that I've attached to unicorns, I kind of feel like maybe I should try and change that up a little bit and make it, I might not be able to do a really realistic unicorn right now, but I could certainly have it go at some kind of unicorn and turn it into a little bit of, well, I can't draw the kind of unicorn my sister might need yet, but if I wanted to put the hours in, I could. It's just that it would take a lot of hours, and by the time I'd learnt to do it, she'd have gone past needing it, bless. But the can't that's attached to unicorns, that's what's really prompted me to go looking at unicorns this morning, because I think it's quite fun and interesting as an artist to look at ways to challenge that. Now the first thing I've got in my head is that in my head unicorns are white and my page is white, so I'm actually going to do a rainbow array of unicorns. The second thing is I'm going to go for a really kind of basic shape, and unicorns seem to me to be an oval kind of body with long legs, an almost kind of slightly triangular neck, and then another kind of oval on it to make a head, and then they have various bits of manes, and they must have a horn. So I'm going to work with that. And if you can hear birds singing, that's because I've got my window open because I'm quite warm this morning. If you can hear what sounds like an aeroplane taking off, it's because my washing machine is just reaching its spin cycle. And if you hear any dog clattery noises, it's because my dog's nails clatter on the laminate floor even when they're cut to the right length. But they are settled down at the moment. Sherlock is over to my left, and Watson is snuggled between two puffs. He likes the little gap that are between our two puffs that we put our feet up on in the living room, because the living room is where my art desk is. So this is my page, it's an A5 page. I'm going to grab just a couple of brushes. I'm going to grab my big favourite round. I really should get some smaller versions of this brush because I really like it. It's probably about a number 8. And then I'm also going to grab some of my spotters. Now my brushes are in a bit of disarray, so I'm going to grab them out and just sort out a little bit, pop a few away. So these are, that's my brush for grabbing colour with. That's a rigger brush that I had out. There's one of my spotters. This is a number 1. This is a number 3. This is a 000 spotter. That's a 0 spotter. And I just want to find my number 5 spotter. There it is. So they're all spotters except for my big one, which is a round, and you can tell because it's got black bristles. And this one, that is used for picking up colour. So I'm just going to stop the video for a second while I go and pause the washing machine because that's very, very loud, and I'll be back in just a sec. I couldn't remember how to pause the washing machine, so I've shut the living room door, and hopefully that will be a little bit quieter. I feel like this brush is going to be a bit big, so I'm going to pop it over there for now. I'll put my other ones just over here as well so that I can get to those, and I'm going to think about mixing up or picking up some colours. Now normally I use my big circular palette, but I'm not using that today. I'm actually using a little palette that I've got where I've jammed in all of my Primacolours. I'm doing that because they have these lovely pastels in them that I think might work really well for me with unicorns. They've also got some lovely kind of richer yellows and oranges that I like. They're a bit chalkier maybe than my normal paint, but I know lots of people really love Primacolours. You could use any paint that you've got. If you have got just standard paints and you can't get the kind of pastel colour you're looking for, you tend to need to mix some white. Now sometimes watercolours come with a white, and you could try mixing with that, like this one has a white. But you can also, if you have it hanging around, use gouache and mix that with your watercolours, and that will give an opaque kind of colour. And gouache works very similar to watercolours, but it's more opaque, but it can still be re-wet and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start by just lifting out some of these colours and popping them into my palette a little bit, I think, just to have a little bit. So you see I've wet my brush. Let's move that so you can see. I'm just going round and round with my brush to pick up. And if you don't have a brush to pick up, that's fine. I would advise using your least favourite brush. If you've only got one brush, use that, but be gentle with it. So when you're putting it in, you don't ever put your bristle in. If you imagine this is the paint, so that they will push out like that. You don't want that to happen. Okay, you want to be pushing in so that you're going round and round like that and doing it quite gently. Otherwise you kind of squash the bristles of your brush out of shape, and it's hard to get them back into shape, and sometimes you can permanently damage your brush. So whilst I might look like I'm being a bit rough, I'm actually being quite gentle. You can also spray your watercolours with a little bit of water, because these are really close together. I am not doing that because I'll get ones wet that I don't want to, and you can see here this one, it's got a little bit of a lump where it's got hot, and it will kind of bleed over into the colours next door. So I do mine like this. If I'm finding one particularly hard, I'm just adding a little bit of water to that, can sort out the consistency. If I find one particularly hard, like I know if I were to use this, which I'm not going to today, it's hard, I will just put some water on top of it like that, and then leave it to be my last colour to pick up, so the water softens it for me. So far we've got kind of a pale pink, a deeper pink. I'm going in for this lovely purpley lilac colour now. Put my diffuser on this morning, and it's got a blend in it that I got from one of my online classes called Moonshine, and it's got patchouli in it, and I can't decide if I like patchouli or not. I kind of like being reminded of the smell of wet earth. I'm just not sure I like it as a smell to diffuse at the moment for my nose, so we shall see. It's got jasmine in as well, and I normally really like jasmine, but I'm finding it very, very strong today. This blue is really, really icy, it looks like at the moment, so I'm just going to go round and round on that a little bit. Yeah, that's a very icy pale kind of blue. So pop a little bit of that in there. I'm going to grab some of this blue as well. This one's a little bit harder, so a little bit more water. Just go round and round for a little bit, and then it'll start to soften up. That's the kind of blue. I really associate unicorns with these kind of pastel colours, but they don't have to be. I suppose they could be any colour that we wanted them to be. But that, I think I'm going to grab some of this green, which is like a minty kind of green. Yep. And I will go back into my palette and probably use some of these neat for what I'm going to do today. But I like to have a mix that's in here. And what I very much need in here is a yellow. I'm actually going to go for the brighter yellow. And I can always add a little bit of white to it if I feel like I need to. But I feel like I need a zingy colour to go with these. So see, I've put some paint in each thing, and then I just get my brush, wash it out in my water so it's clean, and then get water on my brush and just drip it in to get the paint to be watery. You're kind of looking for something a little bit like milk. So just move my paint up there a little bit. If I turn them round and pop them there, you'll be able to see if I'm picking up colours for there. Okay, so I forgot to press record, but I did notice. And I was talking to you about wanting to add on this gold horn that I've done here. Now I used a metallic watercolour paint. You could use anything, gel pen, gold Signo Uniball pen is what I've got hanging around, Posca pen, anything that's metallic. If you want a metallic look, you could cut it out and glue it on. You could even use glue and put on a little bit of glue there and then sprinkle something onto that. You could also do it in the darker colour, the darker pink that we've used for the unicorn. I also popped on a black eye, and I tested my black pens by putting a dot of black pen, letting it dry, and then putting a line of water across. And we could see the bottom one leaked a little bit and the top one didn't at all. And so I chose to use my black Posca paint pen, but you could use any pen. We're not really going to put more water on, so you could even use a pen that doesn't that does rather bleed or react with the water. So I put a circle there for the eye and a dot for the nose, and I was just saying I wanted to add some detail here, and I thought I was going to add some little pink hearts. I was going for the same colour as my unicorn. You could use a crayon, a gel pen, any kind of pen or pencil, and you could do it in any colour you liked. And I was just going to zoom in to show you how I make really easy heart shapes. So what I do is I pull a line that way and a line that way. Now you can make these smaller like that. And that does work if you do them in a pencil too. You just pull a little line that way and a little line that way, and you get these lovely cute little hearts. I'm also going to add some white dots, I think, because I have a white Posca pen that I can use. If you don't have white, then that's fine. You could either put your dots in another colour or you could miss the dots off. And I'm just going to add some white dots, just like that, to the top of my horse, and a little white dot in his eye, because that's quite fun. And I think I'm quite fancying grabbing my little brush and giving a little kind of rosy cheek here. I might do that because I quite like that. And then the last thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to just add some pencil detail onto the horn. So you could do this in any pencil. I've got a mechanical pencil that I'm using because it's my favourite. And all we want to do is to pop the lights on so you can, that's better. Need to make sure that's dry, so I'm going to give it a blast with the heat gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top, just outline the very tip there, then I'm going to draw a diagonal line, that. And the next one I'm going to draw a diagonal line. I'm just drawing a curvy line around it, so I'm bringing this down, diagonal line, and just curving it up a tiny bit at the end, and then down again. And then I'm just going to repeat that all the way down the horn. Another way to look at it is that I'm actually drawing little kind of ovals at an angle going down the horn, just to try and make it look a little bit more unicorn horn like. I'm also going to draw a couple of little circles around the eyes and put in a few little pencil details in just on the hooves, a little bit on the tail, because then I can see if I like those or not. I didn't like that one, so I'm going to get my rubber and take that one out just because I can. Yeah, I quite like the little bit on the horn and a very light line there, and around the eye, just to bring some pencil in. So we've got our basic idea now of how we're going to do a unicorn. So let's figure out the best order to do our painting in now. So let's do another one, but different colour. So I'm grabbing my brush, and now I've got this purple. So I'm going to grab some more of that purple, and I'm also going to mix purple here. So I need two purples. I need one that's a little bit darker or a different colour. So I'm going to get the purple and I mix it with some of my pink. Oh, that's very pink. Too much pink. So I'll get some more purple and I'll just mix a little bit in and see how that is. Might be okay. Still looks fairly similar. I'll try some purple here and I'll mix it with a little bit of the darker blue and see how that is. Yes, that's better. That gives me two different colours. So I'm going to start by painting the oval. Let's see if I can get one in here. So I started with an ovally kind of shape, and I'm going to be able to fill that in because I know that I'll fill that in. I'm going to use just some plain water on my brush now to spread that around because that purple's quite dark and pigmented, and I just want, yeah. Oh, wrong purple again. I'll pick up some of the real purple. I'm going to pop on the triangle-y kind of head that goes on about here. And I've got a little bit of a line between the body, so I'm just using my brush to go over that, and I'm going to just pop in a little bit more paint like that. Then I've got the kind of like a rectangle with a rounded end that I've popped on there, and then I'm going to pop that one here, which will go off a little bit, but that's okay. And then I'm going to do the legs, and this time for the legs I think I'm going to have, let's see if I can make him look like he's running, perhaps. So I'll put a curvy leg in here, and I don't know actually, I might stick with those straight legs for now and just do another one like that. Another straight leg and another straight leg. Now I can see where these are joining the body, so I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of paint and then a little bit of water because I haven't worked quite fast enough to do it all while it's wet, just so that they don't look like there's lots of lines. So I've got my basic shape there. That needs to dry, so while that is drying a little bit, I'm going to go and grab some of my blue. Disappeared a bit there, so I've popped a bit more into my painty palette. So I've got some blue now, and I'm going to draw another unicorn. Yeah, I think so. There's my ovally kind of shape, and then I'm going to have leg 1, leg 2. Let's see what it looks like with just all 4 legs on the floor. 3, leg 4, and just make them all roughly the same kind of length. And then I can do the little triangle-y kind of neck, and the roundy rectangle, and now I can just go and fill those spaces in with some paint, a little bit more water. There you go. If your paint dries, you sometimes have to make it darker if you can't get the outline that you've drawn with your brush to move, which is why it's a good idea to start with watery paint, because then if that happens you can darken it up. I need to pop a little ear on. There's a blue unicorn. I think we should go for a minty green one now. I think I'll pop a minty green one. They're all pointing the same way, so I'm going to keep them pointing the same way. But I might try seeing if I can do a unicorn rearing up. So I'm going to draw the oval at a different angle, like that. And if a horse was rearing up and kind of standing on its back legs, as they do sometimes, you'd have the straight kind of back legs, wouldn't you? So I can draw those coming down here and here. Gosh, that looks a bit odd. And then they'd have like curvy legs up here, wouldn't they? Because they would be waving those forelegs around. So I should do that one, and I should do that one. Like that, and see how that works. And then I still need to do that kind of triangular neck shape here. And I still need to do my kind of rectangle with a rounded end there. And I'll just make that neck a bit smoother. I still need to do my ear, which is going to go there. I've got room here for another one, so I think I'll go for a yellow unicorn. Just re-wetting by putting some water on this in my palette. And I'm going to pop a yellow body on like that. A little bit more water, and I can do the triangle-y neck coming up here, and I can do a kind of rectangle with a curvy end and the straight back, and I can draw the ear, and then I can get this bendy leg at the front and then a straight leg. Oh, that one's a little bit of a fat leg, but that's okay. And then legs at the back here, 1, 2, and just soften that line there a little bit. So by now I'm hoping that my purple one is a little bit drier, so I can go in with this kind of bluey purple that I mixed, which was a little bit of the purple and a little bit of the blue, and I can add on his kind of muzzle part. I can add on the middle to his ear. I can add on my kind of little mane bit and do the bottoms of the feet like that. And I can do the tail. The tail was easy with the little brush, so I'll probably stick with my little brush for doing that. And then the other thing that I could pop on is I could pop on the little cheek. And then I'm ready to do the same thing with my blue. But again with the blue, the darker blue that I've got in my paint is a lot too dark. So I'm actually going to mix myself a blue here. So I've got some of the blue that I painted the unicorn in, and then I'm taking a little bit of that darker blue and I'm mixing it in. I'm just going to use a little bit at a time, that's why I stuck it over here, until I get a blue that's dark enough. I think actually, surprisingly, I can make it quite a bit darker. So I'm going to pop on his muzzle. Yeah, I could probably make that darker still if I wanted to. I'm going to pop on the bottoms of his hooves. Yeah. And then I am going to switch to my littler brush. Now if you don't have a littler brush, you can see you can do it with the big brush. I'm just finding it easier with my littler brush. I'm going to pop on the middle of the ear. I'm going to pop on the kind of maney bits coming down here. And if it's not dark enough, while it's still wet, I'm just going back in and touching my brush to it. And then I can do the tail here. Yeah, my tails needs a bit of work. That looks a bit like a pom-pom. But I quite like it. It's very floofy and fun. And I love these end bits because that's all frilly. And I can pop on the little cheek. Now I need to do the same with my green. And again, because green's made of blue and yellow, I can actually mix the green with some blue. Now I'm just going to mix it in here and just add some green to the blue I've just used, because that was quite dark. If I put some of my green in, it'll give it a little bit of a greeny tinge. And then if I put another dot of the blue, it'll probably end up being dark enough with a little bit of playing around so that I've got greeny. There you go, that's good. So again, we'll just do the same thing again now. Pop on the end bit of the muzzle, pop on these bottom bits here. Actually wondering if I might do a different kind of mane. Just go for something a bit more spiky and see how that looks. And then for his tail, I'm going to have it coming out like that. I'm having a bit of a play. I'm going to get some of my lighter green and then put some of that in my mane, so it's got the dark and the light in there, and it's a bit longer and spiky. See how I like that? And I'm going to do the same down here with the tail. And then I've got the yellow one. Now for the yellow one, I think actually I'm going to pop a tiny little bit of pink in it. Rather than trying to make it more or less yellowy, I'm going to make it a tiny bit orange. And I'm going to do that into my yellow here. So I'll just put a tiny dot of my dark pink, and you can see I've got quite a dark orange mixed up in there. So that should work beautifully. So I think I've very much tackled the basic shape quite well. And I've got a basic shape that's working for me. The manes and tails I think I need to play with a little bit more, or I'd like to play with a little bit more to find one that really works for me. And that could be looking at more pictures or different pictures. It could be I'll try one that does this kind of business this time. So I'll put some of that on in the dark colour, and then I'm going to go down here with the mane like that, and I'm going to pop on a little dark cheek. Oh, forgot to do that on the green one. And I'm going to grab some of the actual yellow just straight from the pan. I'm just going to mix that in with the tail, quite like that, and then I'm just going to go back and pop and do that dark green cheek on here, so that's done. And so our next bit now, we could add some heads and some bits here, but I'm not going to for now. I'm going to stick with whole unicorns. I'm going to go in now and I want to add on my unicorn horns, because that's my last little bit of painting. So I'm going to re-wet my gold like that, get as much off the brush as I can, and then I'm going to grab my little brush, load it up with that gold paint, and I'm going to paint on my unicorn horns, which are basically a long pointy triangle, and you can give them a curvy bottom. And then to get the paint to be super metallic and gold, I'm dripping more paint in while it's wet. Now this unicorn horn is going to go off the page. This unicorn's got a super long horn. I feel like they need to be individuals, so I'm playing around with how can I start to make them. This one's got just a little horn here. There we go. So horns done. They need to dry. While they're drying, I get my black pen and I can go in carefully and I can do my eye and my little nose nostril. Just a round circle for the eye and a little one for the nostril. I'm going to go in here, and the eye is kind of roughly positioned above that wherever you've put your cheek. And then I can do this one. So that's that little bit done. The next thing I can do is these patterns on their bottoms. So I've got a yellow, a blue, a purple and a green pen that I'm going to use. I'll start with purple, and I think the purple one can have hearts too. I'm going to stick with hearts for now, but I think I could come up with some different patterns, or maybe just use dots there. And then I'm going to do some blue ones I like the way the blue works. I think it's closer to the blue colour, so that's quite fun. And some green ones. This might be a bit too... oh no, that works well. And then some yellow ones. They're a bit harder to see, but they're quite nice. Again, just like we did for the pink one. And then I'm going to grab my white pen and I'm going to just put some white dots in between all of those, like this. I've got a little white dot on the eye. And now I am going to give them a blast with the heat gun to make sure they are lovely and dry, so I can do the details on the horns. The way I'm checking is I'm just pressing a tissue down just to see if any gold is coming up. I press it straight down and lift up, so like that one where it came off, just a little bit's come off, and that's okay, I can work with that. So I'll do that one last. If a lot came off, I could go back in and paint it again. So I can zoom in a little bit on the green one. So we go over the tip and then draw a diagonal line come down, draw the diagonal line, join it up, down a bit, diagonal line, and you just make sure the diagonals are parallel, so they're never going to meet. So I'm going to do that on each of them now. His first one's a little bit wonky. Maybe it's because his horn is so long. And then this one doesn't have a tip, so I'll just outline either side and put a diagonal, and then put a few more in to come down like that. And then I can do my little circles around the eyes. These are just light. And then I'm just going to do a little line that tapers off along the muzzle there. On each one. And then a couple of little lines in the tail. And then on the hooves, going across, going up in the middle. Although horses' hooves don't really do that, just because I like the little detail of it. Now I'm just going to have a look to see if I feel like they need anything else anywhere. So do I want to put a line in their manes at all? Maybe just a few little dashes coming down here, like that. Yes, look at those guys. They're quite fun and splendid, I think. I've got a little gap here and a little gap here, and I am going to kind of fill them in a little bit, and I think what I'm going to go for is unicorn farts, otherwise known as rainbows. So I'm going to use the colours I've got, and the order of the rainbow goes Richard, for red. This is my rhyme that I think everybody uses a rhyme to remember it. So I'm going to put some reds on first in some of the gaps like this. And my red is a very pinky red. And I'm going to go for it in 3 places, like that. Then the next one is orange off. So I've got an orange I mixed, so I use that. Just put it right up next to it. If it bleeds in, that's okay. And if they overlap, that's okay. And then Richard of York, so that's begins with Y, so that's yeah for yellow. So the next colour is yellow. So I'm going to pop a nice stripe of yellow in. Again, right next to it. Next is Gave or green, so I'm grabbing my green. It's a very different from the green I would normally use in a rainbow, but I'm using that green that I used for him. I'm going to pop that right next to my yellow, and I'm just letting my brush squash out a little bit by adding some pressure so I get a nice kind of thick stripe. Next is Battle, and Battle begins with B, so that's blue. I'm grabbing some of my blue. I'm going to pop that blue next to it. The next one is I for indigo, and I'm going to miss indigo off of my rainbow because I don't really have a dark blue particularly. I could use this one actually. I might put, yeah, I'll use a little bit of that. I'll keep indigo in there and just put a little bit in. It's a very similar colour to that one, so I'm just going to put a bit more of this dark blue in, so I've got more of a different blue. So that indigo is a really kind of dark, midnighty kind of blue. And this rainbow's gone a bit squiffy, so we shall see what we can do about that. And one of the things I can do about that is I can bring it over here like that to give it a bit more of a rainbow shape. But you can see there's a little white gap up here, so that means I have to go back to the colour before and just add that blue in there like that. And then the last colour is violet or purple. So we can grab some of our leftover purple or get some more and pop that in. And it's okay if I've got little white gaps. And I can put these wherever I feel like there's a gap. Now, because I'm going up to my unicorn's horns here and his ears, I'm just going up to them and then going round them. And there we have a unicorn farts. And I've got a little bit of paint left over, so I'm actually going to use my brush to make some little hearts in the different colours and dot them around in some more of the gaps. So I'm going to use my bigger brush. You can choose whichever brush you want to. And I'm going to put hearts, and I'm doing them exactly the same way that I did them with my pen. I'm pulling my brush one way and then the other. And I'm going to use each colour 3 times and then wash my brush, dry off the excess water on my tissue and go to another colour. And then use that colour 3 times. I'm going to actually go into the yellow here on my pan because I've only got orange left on there. I'm going to pop my yellow in 3 times and then give it a wash. And then I'm going to pop some green in. Oh, my green's not quite intense enough, so I'm going to just add a little bit more paint to that and pop some greens in where there's a gap. Yep, there. And then I can use some of my blue, and I'm going to go for the paler blue to start with, but I can always go back and add some of that darker blue if I want to. So I'm going to pop a blue here, and I'm going to pop a blue here, and I'm going to pop a blue here. What haven't I done? I haven't done purple, I've done pink, I've done yellow, I've done blue, I've done green, I've done, so I can go and pop into any colour I fancy now really. I could use some of that paler pink that I used on the first unicorn. So anywhere I feel like there's a gap still that I want to pop one in, there's 3. And then I could use some of this orange up that I've got in here. that I mixed. That feels a bit of a gap. That feels a bit of a gap. Here feels like a gap. Let's put one there. And then I think I'm going to go for some of this dark blue. Pop some of those in. Pop one there. Pop one there. Got to pop one here. Maybe here might be good. There were 4 of those that time. And then I think I want to go back with that pink again. The darker pink. And just add that in. I'm starting to feel like my gaps are getting fewer now. A little bit of the purple. And again, I'm just using up my leftover colours as well, which is always good. Pop one there. Oops, I made a splodgy heart, but that's okay. Maybe, I like that dark blue, so I'm going to pop in a couple more of those, just in anywhere that I feel like there's still a gap. Or a bigger space. Yep, I am feeling rather happy with this page. It is making me smile. Let me zoom out so that you can see all of it. I think that is kind of cute. It was kind of fun, and I've taken my I can't do unicorns and turned it into I can do unicorns, because they are definitely unicorny. I hope you enjoyed that. If you create any artwork, I love to see it. If you post it up on social media, you can tag me in either as @RayCreates or @RachelKentish. And if you don't share it on social media but you would like to share it with me, you can send it to my email, which is raycreatesart@gmail.com, and I will love to see that. If you're wondering where this is from my May Mindful watercolour class, and this is one of the extra pieces when I paint along that I share in my class group to give people some different ideas about how they can make that one lesson that's to inspire you and start you off on a Monday, and make that last for a week's worth of doing a little bit of mindful watercolour every day. So I hope you have fun painting your unicorns and unicorn farts, aka rainbows, and I will see you very soon.